What is up, YouTube? The topic for today's video is a cloud-based platform called Databricks. It's a unified data engineering slash data science platform which you might have heard about. We're gonna discuss a bit more. Uh, just before moving forward, I really want to thank you all for subscribing to my channel. I reached like 40 subscribers already, which is big, and got like around 14 hours of watch time. Pretty impressive on where we're going. So I'm still gonna continue with my videos. So without further ado, let's move on to the topic, which is Databricks. In terms of Databricks, let's look at the history and the company itself. So basically, if you'll see about the company, you would kind of relate to them as being the original creators of Spark. So this company was actually founded in 2013, and then they already had a background of building Spark, which is already like a big library to use, library slash framework to work around with the big data. And then within this company, from what I understand, they have like a lot more offerings in terms of products, but plus they also do a lot of consultations with their clients in place. So it's like a big company with the consultation projects and the products itself. And this company is basically headquartered in San Francisco and has like multiple co-founders. And in terms of looking at what they're offering, so the Databricks platform, which is like uh, from which what they convey as being the one place for all your data. So what they mean by that is like it's like a one cloud-based solution where full sets of data engineering plus data science teams can work together, collaborate together, starting from setting up the environment, which is very easy, until the last stage, which is like productionizing machine learning models or productionizing your workflows, all built into a single platform. That's what they claim. So let's like go further and look into the details. Let's look at like a few key aspects of the Databricks platform. There are four main key aspects which they mention, which is like collaborative notebooks, like Jupyter notebooks, where everyone can work together as a team. Then like reliable data engineering, like ability to build reliable data engineering pipelines that work across big data sets and scale easily. Productionizing your machine learning models, like once you have all the research being done, then you would want to productionize and deploy so that inference from these machine learning models is relatively fast. Plus also like making a workspace which has all the data in place and using like simple SQL to basically access everything together in a single platform. So the way it's kind of targeting is like the BI layer, the DE layer, the DS layer, and even in the DDE layer, which is the final layer where the DE has to productionize the models and the pipelines. It kind of coexist into a single place, and that's what the offering they are giving. All right, moving on. So let's look at where like Databricks places itself compared to like its competitors, AWS, GCP, and Azure. So the one thing to note about Databricks is it went with a different route. So instead of being proprietary, the way it's being deployed is that you kind of select in a cloud environment, which is like Azure, AWS, or Google Cloud. Google Cloud is pretty recent, but yeah, I've seen Azure and AWS for a while. So through this platform, there's an ability for you to deploy basically your new Databricks instance to like AWS. That's the idea. All right, moving on. So let's look at where like Databricks places itself compared to like its competitors, AWS, GCP, and Azure. So the one thing to note about Databricks is it went with a different route. So instead of being proprietary, the way it's being deployed is that you kind of select in a cloud environment, which is like Azure, AWS, or Google Cloud. Google Cloud is pretty recent, but yeah, I've seen Azure and AWS for a while. So through this platform, there's an ability for you to deploy basically your new Databricks instance to like AWS. That's the idea. So what happens here basically is like with a click of a few buttons, basically this uh, Databricks platform gets deployed to your AWS account if you provide the right credentials, and then they kind of charge on top of that, like on top of what you deployed. So basically, when this gets up running, then they are charging for the jobs, and they're charging for like the SQL queries you're doing and deploying, and they have a lot of offerings in place. That's what they show, and they've got like multiple tiers: standard, premium, enterprise. What we're gonna focus on is like the standard one. So right now I have a free trial which lasts like 14 days. So that's what we're gonna look at. But in terms of the pricing, this is how it works, like looks like, and you can always like hop on to calculate the price and like look into the details. One thing to note would be here is this is a separate pricing which is happening in terms of the Databricks platform. Plus, there's another pricing uh, on the services which are being used. So if you are basically, what this does is creates a cluster in terms of AWS when you deploy an AWS, and then it has like multiple machines running there, and then the AWS also charges you on that part. I hope it makes things clear. And in terms of like how it places itself against all these giants, I think there's an overlap with the kind of services the AWS, GCP, and Azure are offering, plus what Databricks is offering. But the good thing about Databricks is they are trying to mainly focus on data and tools around data. So it's very data centric focus, and it's like a single platform. Uh, a bit easier to use in terms of collaboration, and then working your way around from like development to the productionization of data workloads and machine learning deployment. In the next part of this video, we're gonna look at on getting started with Databricks, actually deploying like a free trial version on AWS. So let's just hop onto it. So the way it works is quite simple. So if you go to this link, I'm going to leave it in the description. So it says like you can try Databricks for free, and then if you enter a few details and specifically your email, they're going to send you an approval email of the Databricks, and it kind of walks you through with the Databricks platform. So what you have to do, you have to visit a link. They'll send a link within that email, and then you have to access it. So let me quickly show you what happens next. So once you click on the link of that email, you're going to be routed to a very similar place like this. So where it will help you with the steps. So on the left, these are all the steps you have to follow through. So the first one is selecting the plan. I've selected the base one. Then add in the billing details, which is like your card details, which is required here. Because I selected AWS, I get an AWS account detail, which is being mentioned here. And like basically this account details is your like AWS account ID. In terms of your AWS account, you can get an account ID and account access key. After you enter the account ID details, the next step is entering the right AWS S3 bucket storage. So you will need to define like just the name of the S3 bucket. Once you give a name, and then it will help you generate a bucket policy. So once it generates a bucket policy, you have to go to the S3 bucket in AWS and just create a new bucket with this name and add in the policy. Fairly simple. So after that is done, the next step and the last step would be just clicking deploy Databricks button. There's just a button when you click on it, and it basically does everything for you and deploys it onto the AWS machine, and then you have a server in place. Pretty interesting, right? So it takes around like 30 minutes for it to get deployed, but once it's deployed, it's going to give you a URL like what's happening right now. So once I click on it, I get routed to my Databricks cloud, and that's where I kind of enter my credentials. Yep. All right, so this is how it looks like. So once everything works out for you, you're gonna be greeted with this panel, and within this panel, just for a small brief, you can explore a quick start tutorial. This basically guides you through a small workflow which includes reading some data and manipulating it, and just working your way around and building a few charts. So let me quickly show you how it works. So basically, once I click on it, it kind of creates a notebook for me. And this is like a collaborative style of notebook where multiple people can work on it. And then it guides you through the data. So in this case, you can easily create SQL queries, read the data, and put it into tables. The tables are like part of the environment of Databricks. But and then you kind of work your way around reading the data, saving it as tables, and doing simple SQL queries to get group bias and averages. Fairly straightforward. The idea is like this is more of a getting started with Databricks. The next tutorial would focus more on building an actual workflow within Databricks, and like creating a cluster and then deploying this notebook on that cluster and then doing a lot of jobs there. I would say that's most of it for this video. I'm going to try to build a series out of Databricks. So in this video, where we mostly covered the basics on like how to get the Databricks environment and like get started with the Databricks environment. In the next videos, I'm gonna focus on like creating actual workflows and jobs in Databricks. So I think that's mostly it. If you felt you got any value out of this video, so feel free to hit the subscribe button and leave a like. And I think that's it. Thanks a lot.